Hello friends and welcome again. In this video, I will share with you how you can go about preparing for situational questions that you should expect to be asked in a Procter Gamble interview. Now, on the look of it, situational questions are questions where you will be given a situation on the spot. Like when you're in the interview, the interviewer will give you a situation saying, tell me if you encounter such a situation. Let's say if there's a tight deadline, tell me if you encounter a conflict, how will you resolve it? So on the looks of it, it seems that you are not able to really preempt or predict what kind of situation you will be given, and hence it is very difficult or almost impossible for you to prepare. The other part of the interview, which is behavioral interview, you have quite a lot of idea, which is the kind of questions that will be asked and what are you going to talk about, because you will be talking about things from your past experience, which you have control over, which you know of because they are on your resume, you know of it, and you can talk about it. However, with situational questions, there is no past experience. It is all a situation and how do you solve the situation on the spot. So it seems that there is not a lot to prepare. However, here, let me break that myth. You can prepare to the fullest level for any situational questions. And this is why we are here in this video, where I will share with you all the tips, tricks, and hacks with regards to preparing for situational questions. Now, before moving forward, let me call out, in case you find any value from this video, I have to ask for you. One, press the like button, as this keeps me motivated. Second, I want to share a stat with you that 76% of you who come on my channel to view my videos do not subscribe to my channel. Please do subscribe to my channel, as this goes a long way for me to improve my production, put in more content, and keeps me motivated as well. So when you subscribe, make sure you subscribe along with the bell icon. Now let's get rolling back into the video. Now note, previously I've made content where I have shared what kind of questions you should expect from a P&G interview, both on the behavioral side and on the situational side. However, even if you know the question that you will be asked, you don't know how to go about preparing for that question. So in this video, I will share with you all the tips, hacks with regards to how you can go about preparing for a situational interview question. Previously, I've also made a video where I share with you how do you go about preparing for a behavioral interview question. So I will leave the link to all these videos in the description of this video. Other than that, I have a full playlist of P&G hiring process on my channel, which you can check out. I will leave the link here and also in the description of this video. Other than that, let me also call out, in case you're interested in having a mock coaching and training session on Procter Gamble interview, you can do so by booking a one-to-one session with me. You can book that one-to-one session using the link that I will leave in the description of this video. In case you are curious with regards to what do we cover in that session, I will leave a link to a recorded session that I had with one of my followers on P&G mock and coaching session. You can check out that video here, and that would be kind of a guide for you to know what to expect. Now, coming back to the question or the topic of this video, which is how do we go about preparing for situational questions. Now, Procter Gamble situation questions would be under three umbrellas. One would be around people management, which would entail things like conflict resolution, influencing management, influencing people, influencing your manager, and so on and so forth. So anything to do with how do you go about managing, influencing, convincing people, resolving conflict, and all that. I will share with you how do we answer that. Second umbrella is around organization, which is how do you organize yourself. There is a tight deadline, you have a lot of priorities, you got some extra work. How do you manage work? How do you manage deadlines, timelines, and all? And third is around business. So there would be a business question. Let's say there is a business situation, either you oversold or there is a hurt, there is an impact, a factory went on fire, you are missing on sales. How do you go about managing a business situation? So these are the three umbrellas. So you'll get situational questions either on people, on organization, or on business. So in this video, we will talk about how do we go prepared for each of these sections. The idea here is the way you prepare, you can handle any situational question. So if there is an organization situation question, you know exactly what are the few elements that you need to talk or share as part of your answer. If you have them ready, if you have them prepared, and if you have them written in front of you, that is all you need. Similarly, if there is a business question, there is a certain formula to answer the business question, situation question. There's a certain formula to answer people situation questions. As long as you have that formula written in front of you, you don't even have to memorize. And also remember, the job of your brain is not to remember things. It is to process. So if you use your brain capacity to remember the answers that you have to give, then my friend, you're not using your brain capacity correctly, because your brain capacity should be used to communicate effectively, concisely your message, as against trying to remember what you have to say. Now, all these formulas that I will give you for each of these situational questions pillars, what you need to do is you need to take these formulas, put them in bullet format and write them down. Keep the page in front of you, that paper in front of you when you are delivering a virtual interview. No one in front of you, in front of the camera, will know that you have a page in front of you which has all the notes. When they ask you a situational question, you pick up a pencil and pretend as if you are writing. Even if you're scribbling, just pretend that you're writing on the same page where you have the notes. This gives you permission to look down on the page and use those notes that you've taken to answer the question, because the interviewer now thinks or believes that you've taken some notes, which gives you the permission that you can refer to those notes. Although you didn't take any notes on the spot, you already had notes from before. The reason we have notes from before is because we don't want to use our brain capacity to remember things. So we've written down all the answers that I will share with you, the formulas, and as soon as the interviewer is asking you the question, you look down, you pretend as if you're writing, and then when they are done asking the question, you raise your head, and then you go one by one, looking at those bullets that you've written down from before, that formula, and answer in that exact form. So this way you don't have to remember anything. All you need to do is the answer is written, just deliver the answer and formalize the answer and adapt the answer to the situation that is given, because the answer is kind of a formula that you can apply to any situation, any people situation. However, the situation may be slightly different with different names, with different complexities. So you need to kind of tailor that formula to address the question. And that is all you need to do, all you need to use your brain capacity for. Don't use your brain capacity for remembering things. Now, I do understand if you are having a face-to-face interview, it would be very difficult for you to have a cheat sheet in front of you. In that case, yes, my friend, you'll have to remember the things that you want to say. However, if it's a virtual interview, don't bother your mind by remembering things. Just keep them in front of you as a cheat sheet. Now let's take each of the pillars as an example, starting with the people pillar. Now I have my notes in front of me as well. So I will use my notes in order to answer the question. Let's say when they ask you about a conflict. So you had a conflict with an individual, or you want to influence an individual who's disagreeing with you, or they are not accepting your ideas, or they are not putting in their weight in the organization or within the project team that you have. So they're not delivering on the task that they were supposed to do. What will you do? So again, situation question will be all about how you influence people, how do you manage conflict. So whenever you get a question around influencing people, conflict, this is the formula you use. You say, first, I understand the perspective. I understand what the individual is saying, so I listen to them. I just sit down with them, which means I meet them privately. So this is number 2. And it would be nice if you can talk them in bullets. So you go like, number 1, I will understand their perspective, for which I will sit down privately with them. Number 2, I will clarify the issue. So once I understood their perspective, I will clarify my perspective. Where am I coming from? Number 3, I will use data. Because with data, there are less opinions, rather there are more facts. So you will make use of data and number and facts in order to drive your point. Next is you bring them back to the objective. So you tell them or clarify to them what is the objective of the team, what is the purpose of the company or of the objective of the team or the purpose of the team or the task at hand. Are we going to deliver that objective by doing what the other individual is asking to do, or will we be able to deliver that objective by your suggestion? So you kind of put the objective out there that this is what we are trying to achieve, and whatever will help us achieve this, we will go for that. Next, you find a common ground. So because now you know the objective and you've shared the objective, you've shared the data and the facts, now you find a common ground to deliver the objective. And it could be different from what you wanted to do. Maybe eventually you end up agreeing to that individual. But the idea is, as long as you have a clear process to follow, you have a clear formula, which is you talk to them, you sit down with them, you clarify the issue, you use data, you bring them to the objective, you find a common ground. Once that is done, then you establish communication with them, because you want to make sure that going forward, you are able to deliver on the task with them and it is not just one off. And then you continue following up with them. So these are kind of the steps. Now imagine if these steps are written in front of you and your interviewer asks you a question around how do you go about influencing people. You use the same formula, which is I understand their perspective, I meet them, I clarify the issue, I make use of data, I bring them back to objective, and so on and so forth. Imagine if they ask you a question which is around conflict. So you have a conflict, how did you can use the same formula. So the idea is this formula, if you have written down in front of you as bullets, that is all you need. Now you can tailor the answer and elaboration under each of these bullets basis the exact question that has been asked. But as long as you have this formula in front of you, you don't need to remember. All you need to know is where to look on that cheat sheet for the formula which pertains to conflict management or influencing people, and then you go there. Now let me talk about what do you have to say with regards to being organized, or what is the formula. So the questions here would be, tell me if you have a priority that you have to deliver in 10 days and it cuts down to by 5 days. If you're working on 5 projects and you have to deliver them on different timelines, how do you manage those 5 projects? If you have 5-6 projects and there are another 2-3 projects that come in, how do you go about managing? So anything to do with how do you go about organizing the tasks. So here's the formula. Number 1, you prioritize the task. You prioritize the task on a grid of, let's say, urgency and importance. So one that is highly urgent and highly important, you put all your resources there. The one that is not important and not urgent, you remove all your resources from there. Second is you rescope the project. Let's say the project was to launch in the entire country and now you don't have time because your timeline has shrunk and deadline has been pulled forward. Now what do? Instead of launching the product across the whole country, you pick on key cities where you have to launch, or key customers where you launch first, and see whether it's a success or not, and basis that launch you determine whether you want to expand or not. So again, the second is reprioritizing the project scope. Third is breaking down the project into different parts. And if you break down the project into different parts, you might see that there are certain elements of the projects which are less important. There are certain elements which are more important. So can you get rid of the elements which are less important and not do them at all and still deliver on the project? Number 4 is if it's possible to delegate the task. So if you have a team, you can delegate them. So delegating the task. Number 5 is having an open communication with your manager. So also making sure that your manager is aligned to that priority. Your manager is aligned to the rescoping of the project. So much so that you also take inputs from the stakeholders and make sure that they are aligned. So having an open communication with your manager, with the stakeholders, and making sure that all of them are aligned to the prioritization that you have called out. It's not just that you've decided on the priority. Everyone else should also be aligned that this is a priority. Next is avoiding perfection. Like, you don't have to be perfect, and you can agree with the stakeholders and your manager if you can deliver the particular project in a minimal viable way. And last is seeking help. So maybe help from other team members, not just delegating, but help from sideways, like lateral help, or upwards, asking your manager to pitch in. So again, this is the formula. You prioritize, you rescope the project, you break down the project into tasks, you delegate the tasks, you communicate effectively with your manager, with the stakeholders, you avoid perfection, and you seek help if that is needed. If you have these bullets written down in front of you and you are given any question pertaining to prioritizing, organizing your work, there's a deadline, you can just look into your notes and say all of them. And it would be nice if you go about saying them, I will do the following 7 things. Because when they are asking you the question, you were writing. You were writing and they are imagining that you've written down all the bullets that you have to talk. Once they've stopped talking, you go like, okay, I have 7 things that I will do. I will prioritize, I will rescope X, Y, Z. Now, it could be possible that the question is such where they didn't allow you the opportunity to delegate the task because they told you you don't have a team, you are a sole player, you don't have people reporting to you. In that case, you only have 6 things to talk about. But it would be nice for you to have those 7 things written down, and all you need to do is just put a tick on number 1, number 2, number 3 in the sequence that you will talk about those points. That's all. Now let's talk about the last umbrella, which is business challenge. So business challenge could be that there is an instance where you were supposed to deliver a particular business to a particular customer, and now you're short on supply. You don't have the supply of that project which was supposed to be launched with the customer. The customer has already put in the promotional plan for that particular product launch, and that product is not available. What do you do? Or you were expecting to sell 100,000 units and you are only able to sell 10,000 units, and now there's a gap. What do you do? Or there was a damage in the factory, or the product was damaged. Anything which is related to business. How do you solve a business problem? Again, there is a particular formula. So we'll go bullet by bullet. So one is you define the problem. What is the problem? And what is going wrong? What is the issue? Second is you gather all the information and then identify the root cause. So in defining the problem, you also understand what is the impact, like what is the dollar impact, what is the timing impact, resource impact, what has gone wrong, and what is the impact. Let's say what has gone wrong is that you're not able to ship to the customer. What is the impact of that? Is it $100,000, million, 2 million, 3 million? Just understanding the size or the magnitude of the issue. Second is you gather the information, which is, again, you need to estimate the size of the issue, so you gather the information. Third is you root cause the issue. So why is the issue happening? You understand the magnitude of the issue, but why is the issue happening? Then you involve the key stakeholders, like you are the finance individual, let's say, in the team, but there is sales, marketing, and other members in the team as well. You bring all of them together and make sure that they understand and they are part of the solution as well, because you won't be able to solve the solution alone. Let's say the customer was not able to get the product that was being launched. You're not responsible for it alone. There is a sales individual who will communicate to the customer. There's a marketing team who also needs to decide whether they continue marketing the product or not because the product is not available anymore, and so on and so forth. So you involve all the stakeholders. Then you brainstorm solutions with them. Again, you're not an individual who will come up with an idea yourself. You brainstorm solutions with them. The idea here is not for you to come up with the solution. So if for the situational question, you give the solution to the interviewer saying, I will do this, that is wrong, because they don't want you to come up with the solution, because you might be able to come up with the solution now, but maybe when the real thing happens and you are in that particular problem or situation, maybe your ideas are not good. But as long as you have the formula, you have the process to solve it, where you bring in the experts, bring in the stakeholders, and then do a brainstorming session, that is the way to do. Even if your ideas are bad, now you have a team working towards it. Now you have a team engaged in it. Then you evaluate the solutions. So you have a brainstorming session, you evaluate different options, you select the best options based on different criteria of the size of impact, the strategic impact of it, the long-term impact of it, and so on and so forth. And then you develop an action plan. You say, okay, we've selected the solution, now this is the action plan. So here, as part of the evaluate solution, it would also be nice to do sensitivity analysis to see which option is less risky, which option is more risky, which option has bigger financial or long-term impact. And then you select the best solution. Once you selected the best solution, you develop the action plan. So what will be the action plan to execute that particular solution? Then you communicate that action plan and the choice you've made, not just with the stakeholder, but with everyone who is involved and who has to execute the plan. And then you implement the solution. And once the solution is implemented, you evaluate the results, and then you document the process. You document the process to make sure that this is not repeated again, or if it's repeated again, there is a formula that exists and people can refer to that experience that has happened before and learn from it. Anyways, guys, these were the 3 umbrellas you should expect in terms of situational questions, and I gave you the formula for each. Make sure you have it written down in front of you, kept in front of you as well, and when the interviewer asks you the question, refer to your notes and answer them. Thank you for watching this video. In case you found value from this video, I'm sure you'll find value from another video where I talk about how you should go about introducing yourself. Very important part of the interview. You can check it out here. Other than that, there is another video where I talk about what are the reverse interview questions that you should be asking. This is when the interviewer asks you, what questions do you have for me? You can check out that video here. Thank you.